Okay, so this review is for Wednesday, pages 98 through 103. Okay, so at this point in the book, we're honestly almost done with it. Um, Nothing good is happening, like literally nothing. This part is brutal, to be honest. It really is. Just worse. Okay, so as we left off, they are in the cattle car being moved to another camp. Okay, so like we talked about before, at the beginning of this book, 80 people could fit in this car. Now 100 people can because that's how small they are. Okay, so um, the men that didn't survive in the train, they were literally just thrown off. Okay, so I want to say that might be number 9. So if you didn't survive and you died in the train, in the cattle car, you were just thrown off the cattle car, like not buried, just nothing. They just threw them out. Um, so during this time, there's a second there where Ellie thinks his dad is dead. Okay, like he's sitting there, his dad fell asleep, and he thinks he's dead. And I think this goes for number 7. In that second, like in that exact moment, he is like, I have no reason to live anymore. He is dead, and he completely leaves his will to live because he thinks that his dad is dead. Okay, so men come over to go take his dad and throw his body out of the cattle car, and Ellie panics because he's like, if he's gone, I'm gone. And he slaps his dad so hard he wakes him up because he's like, I can't live without him. There's no way he's dead. Like I can't live with him being dead. And he slaps him so hard that he wakes him up. So he wasn't dead, thankfully. But like if Ellie happened to have fallen asleep during that time, his dad would have been thrown off the cattle car and been alive. Crazy. Oh, it's too much. So they travel for 10 days and 10 nights. And Ellie just explains like it was literally like they're just sitting there almost dead. They didn't get bread. They didn't get any food. The only thing they had to eat was the snow that was building up on each other as they were driving through with these cattle cars. And I always think of a cattle car as like a train, basically like a big train, but it has an open like top, so the snow's coming in. And obviously like there's no seats, like they're just in a big room basically. Um, but for number 11 here, why did the prisoners kill one another for bits of bread? So they would stop at kind of train stations, and I think this is really interesting that like common day Germans just like found this interesting and fun to watch. These aren't even like guards; they're just regular German people. Because we have to remember that Hitler convinced them that the Jewish people were the reason the country was in turmoil, and like Jewish people were the reason everything was bad in the world. So they would literally throw a piece of bread in and watch as the prisoners in the cattle car fought to the death over this bread. Um, and they did this because they were starving. Like they always eaten for the past 10 days of snow. Okay, so they would literally, and at this point, it's one of those you want to start to think like survival of the fittest. Like none of them care about anybody but themselves, minus like Ellie and his dad. So if they need to kill somebody to eat and live, they're going to, and that's literally what they did. So again, like these regular German townspeople are watching them, just and like thinking it's interesting, and like you need to remember, like they're basically skeletons at this point. And that this part is just so crazy to me that it's just like regular people, you and me, just watching them, thinking like, oh wow, thanks for them, like so crazy. But this part is so brutal to read again. Like a son literally kills his own dad for this bread. He does it, and then he gets the bread, and people kill him. Like they're literally killing each other because they're so hungry, um, which is just crazy to think about. But I mean, it just kind of was what it was at this point, right? Oh God. And then at least talks about one night he woke up to someone literally choking him to death, and it was so dark he has no idea who it was, and he all he could do was call out for his dad, and his dad was so weak that he had to call out for their friend Mir Katz, who was stronger than them. And to this day, Ellie says he has no idea who tried to choke him to death on the train. But you can only imagine they probably did it to live longer. I don't know. That part's so crazy to me. He literally just wakes up and somebody's trying to choke him. I can't. It's crazy. But for number 12, why did Meerkat stay back? So on the last day of their journey, Meerkat kind of sits down with Ellie and his dad, and he says he can't go on any further. he cries over the loss of his son that died in literally the first selection when they first got to the camp. And he realizes at this point in his life, like, he just has nothing to live for. He has no point to go on, and he doesn't want to stay in the cattle car any longer. He doesn't want to test to see if he can live, and he like truly just gives up at this point. So he stays back because we can assume he just honestly dies, and it's just sad. Like, he's made it so far, but at this point he doesn't know when he'll ever get out. So he's just lost his will to live. Um, and just everyone's crying on the last day. Like, it started to get so cold on the last day of their journey that people are just getting up and moving around because they're so cold. They don't want to die. Like, everyone is losing hope that they're going to make it wherever they're going. They have no idea where they're even going. And I want to talk about this number. It's so crazy. For number 13, 100 men got in this cattle car 10 days before. 100. And when they get to Buchenwald, which is the next camp, 12 people get off of the cattle car. That's 88, not 88, yes, 88, you guys know about it, math. 88 people that died in 10 days, and Ellie and his dad happened to be one of those 12 that live and get to Buchenwald. So they live, right? That's exciting, but we don't even know where they are now. So they're at another camp. That's kind of where we leave off. 12 people out of 100 live. It's crazy.